Hello and welcome everybody to today's Fierce Fall webinar. I'm Emily Aries, BossUp's founder and CEO, and it is so exciting to see so many old friends and BossUp Bootcamp alums on today's webinar. I'm thrilled to continue our Fierce Fall series, the Fierce Fall Challenge, with today's conversation all around how to use social media to land your dream job. So a couple of housekeeping notes before we dive right in. First of all, you're going to be so excited to hear from Emily De La Cruz. You want to be sure to tweet at her and at BossUp.org throughout the course of today's conversation. Take away whatever your highest, your biggest takeaways are from this conversation and share them with those who can't join us right now to help spread the impact of the Fierce Fall Challenge. And for those of you who haven't yet joined, the Fierce Fall Challenge is our 10-week campaign between now and Thanksgiving, we're almost halfway through now, but it's not too late to get in on this. It's totally free, high impact, high value, tons of great content coming your way to help you achieve your number one biggest remaining goal of 2015 before the holidays strike and totally take over our life. So BossUp's building that community to help you get it done with a community of courage every step of the way. So go sign up now at bossup.org/fiercefall if you haven't already. For those of you who have, give us a shout in the chat bar now by sharing what your Fierce Fall goal is. That way, Emily and I, and all of us here today, can start to brainstorm and help each other with resources. After all, this is part of the BossUp community. This is that safe space where you can bring your full life to the table and tackle whatever goals you're striving towards across work, love, or wellness like a boss. Now, coming up later this month, we're going to have Power Lunch next week with Bridget Schulte, author of Overwhelmed, Work, Love, and Play When No One Has the Time. She's also been at the Washington Post as an incredible journalist for years now and has just taken a big new job she's going to tell you all about next week. So sign up at the Fierce Fall landing page there for her upcoming webinar. Next week, or the week after, actually, we'll be working on how to hone your personal story for the job search. And coming up in December is our next BossUp Bootcamp, our flagship training program around which BossUp truly launched, which is designed to help you navigate career transition. So if you're at a pivot point, or you're feeling stuck at a dead end, or you're thinking about transitioning careers altogether, definitely check us out at bossup.org/bootcamp. We're constantly putting these on out of DC, and we might be coming to your neck of the woods next year. So keep in the loop, and you'll keep getting updates from me on bossup.org and through your email. So for those of you who haven't started already, give us a little shout in the chat bar to make sure that you can hear me and see me okay. Share what brought you here today. Share what your Fierce Fall goal is if you have set one. And if you haven't, think about what it is that you're intending to get out of today's conversation. After all, setting our intentions is the most effective way that we can be sure to get what we need to move forward and craft that happy, healthy, and sustainable career path. So excited to welcome everyone in today and for you to meet another fabulous Emily De La Cruz, who is a personal branding expert who hails from the Bronx, is tuning in today from New York City, and who I've had the pleasure of working with after going to a retreat with her myself over this past summer and being totally blown away by how this boss keeps it real, will level with you, is going to tell us exactly what we need to know, no bullshit, and is going to get us to where we want to be online as fast as possible. She started the Branding Muse, which you can find at thebrandingmuse.com, her incredible website full of freebies and giveaways, and where she helps her clients craft an online brand that rocks. So I'm so excited to welcome Emily to today's conversation. She's going to take it away from here in just a moment. So Emily, if you want to turn on your webcam, welcome to today's Fierce Fall webinar. Thanks so much for joining us.
Hello there. I am so excited. I'm so excited to be doing this again. It was so much fun last time, so yeah. I'm glad we can jump back on.
So glad to have you. I'm going to disappear now, but I'll be here taking notes and tweeting throughout the course of our conversation. So folks, if you have questions that pop up throughout the conversation today, go ahead and toss them in the chat bar. It's the best way to converse directly with us. And then we'll also have time at the very end to make sure that all of your important questions are answered. So thanks so much for joining us, and take it away, Emily.
Okie dokie. And hello, everyone. Welcome. I'm seeing a lot of you in the chat, so I'm excited to chat with you guys and talk about, work and career transitions and all that type of good stuff. So I just want to tell you a little bit about me. Clearly, I was looking way cuter in my headshot here. It's been cold and rainy in New York City, so I look a hot mess. So let's just all focus on the intro picture and my headshot and not me. So a little bit about me. I graduated from Syracuse University, and I was the typical superstar student, right? I was in like every single club, the president of this, the vice president of that. And I was brainwashed to think that when I graduated from college, I was going to be rich and fabulous and have this wonderful career in New York City, making all this money, wearing designer bags. I mean, I thought I was going to be living the dream. Then when I graduated, I quickly realized that that was not going to be the case, and that it wasn't the case for a lot of my peers. So I did a lot of job hopping early on in my career because I just don't believe in settling. I don't believe in doing something that you hate, doing something, that you dread, going to an office that you don't, enjoy. So I did a lot of job hopping because I was trying to find the right fit. And I started the Branding Muse because I found that my personal brand was really what gave me an edge over a lot of other job seekers and made it easy for me to be able to transition in and out of roles very easy and very quickly. So I was never unemployed for, a very long amount of time, and never really struggled when job searching. It kind of felt, easy and fun to do. It was actually exciting to search for a new job all the time. So I got the Branding Muse together because I wanted to be able to share the things that I had learned, whether it was like a template that I used to reach out to a recruiter, to, just what I learned about building my brand. So today I'm a digital marketing strategist for a startup, but then I also am a personal branding consultant for young professionals who are looking to, land that dream job, switch careers, and just do what they love. Oh, yes. Yes, Elizabeth. Syracuse is a real place. I have been there and I love it. So awesome. So what is a personal brand? A lot of times we get all of these mixed definitions around what a personal brand is, but simply put, it's basically who you are, how do others see you, and what do you have to offer, right? Because a lot of times we get really convinced that we're portraying one type of personal brand, but that's not what other people are seeing. So we need to understand that our personal brand is a lot more about other people and their perception of us than it is about us. Yes, you want to be communicating, your credibility, communicating your expertise, not leaving out your personality and your authenticity, but you also have to check in with other people and see if they see you in the way that you think that you're portraying yourself, right? So I may think, that I'm a personal branding strategist, but if everyone comes to me for advice on sales, then I'm probably not communicating my personal brand in the right way because I'm not attracting the right kinds of opportunities. So for those of you, who are trying to transition from industries and things like that, you want to consider, what is your personal brand portraying? Are you building a brand around what industry or what job you're trying to be in, or are you communicating a personal brand for where you currently are, right? Because if you're portraying a brand from where you currently are, then you're going to keep attracting a lot of those same opportunities. So if you want something different, you need to do something different, right? So don't forget to really, really infuse who it is that you are, right? So for me, I'm a Latina from the Bronx. I keep it 1000% real. I do not sugarcoat. I do not play games. I will go off in a meeting. You will probably hear me curse. That is just who I am. That's part of my personal brand. Whether you've seen me on Periscope or you follow me on Twitter or you met me at a networking event, that's who I am across the board. So you want to become very clear on what is it about you that attracts people to you? What makes people comfortable with you? What makes them excited? What makes them want to connect with you, right? Whether it's your coworkers or your family or your friends, there's something about you that makes you unique and special. And you don't want to leave that intrinsic, part of you out, right? We a lot of times think that being professional means that you can't be personable or relatable, and that's not the case. You can be professional, but still be yourself. Then thinking about what do you have to offer? What do you bring to the table, right? If you want to land a job, if you want a new opportunity, you need to be communicating very clearly what it is that you're going to be able to bring to the table, right? So you want to be talking about results and accomplishments and less about duties and responsibilities. So we're going to dive into that a little deeper throughout the webinar, but understanding that your social media presence is not supposed to be a running list of job duties and job responsibilities. You want to be talking about accomplishments and results because that's really what people care about. Okay? Alexandra's saying that bringing professional and being personable is definitely a struggle. Yeah, it's a struggle for a lot of people because we've been taught not to be that way, right? We've been taught to be prim and proper and perfect and, wear skirt suits and wear pantsuits and say miss and ma'am and all of this other nonsense, when really that's not how a lot of people communicate, right? A lot of people want to build that personal, genuine relationship, and it's really hard when you're doing that in a very, very formal way. So it's not saying, again, throwing professionalism out the window, but it's more about approaching relationships in a genuine way. You want to be approaching every relationship like a friend, right? Not like you're trying to close a deal right away. When you get to know people on a personal level and you really let your personality shine, that's when you are able to build the most authentic kind of brand. So quickly, we're going to take a look at my social media channels just so that you can see what I'm talking about, right? So a lot of people are like shocked when they see my Instagram because my Instagram is definitely a blend of everything in my life. It's a blend of my business, it's a blend of my full-time role, and it's a blend of my turn up, right? Like I am 20 something years old. I live in New York City. I love to have fun. So I like to go out. I love happy hour. I enjoy going to lounges. I enjoy traveling. So all those things are going to be there. So where we've heard that kind of traditional advice around, don't post pictures in bathing suits or don't post pictures of alcohol or don't do this. I do all of the don'ts, all of them, every single one. You can go on my Instagram right now. There'll probably be a picture of alcohol in there somewhere. There's probably a bathing suit picture because I just came back from Dubai. Like I really don't listen to anything at all. Yet I've still been able to build my credibility and build an audience because people understand that I'm a regular person just like them. So a lot of times we forget that social media is social. And in order for you to be social and build your audience, you have to be relatable. Right. The same way that recruiter or that hiring manager is looking to fill a role, they're also still a person at the end of the day, and people hire people. Right. So you want to connect with them on a personal level. So you might be surprised. Maybe that recruiter loves Beyonce just like you do, and you end up having a great conversation around Beyonce's last album, and you have a better interview because you already got off on a good foot. Right. So thinking about what is my personal brand looking like on my brand channels? Is my personality showing through? Is my value showing through, right? So you can see on my Instagram, there are going to be flyers from speaking events on there. There'll be quotes. I try to use the captions to tell a lot of stories. So I give people, value, but I also give people transparency and authenticity and really who I am. So a lot of times when people meet me, they're like, oh my gosh, you're exactly like you are, on Twitter, or you're exactly like you are on Periscope. And, why would I be any different? So I wanted to just show you guys my brand channel so that you can see it is a mix. You can do it, the same way that I tweet about Scandal, I'm tweeting out an article, the next tweet. I keep the headshots consistent across the board. So your headshot should always be the same on all of your channels to make it easy for people to be able to recognize you. And you also want to be putting out content. A lot of times people are just retweeting and sharing content that's created by other people. But in order for you to really start to develop yourself as a thought leader in your space, as an expert, and start to attract opportunities, you want to use your channels to communicate your expertise with your own content. So that means writing blog posts on LinkedIn, sharing maybe a workshop that you're doing or a quote or something on Instagram and talking about how that's relevant to your life, sharing articles that you've written on Twitter, or even just tweeting out tips and advice from your own experience. But we all have a story to tell. We all have credibility and credentials that we need to share. So your social media channels are the best way to do that because you can reach a broad audience and you don't have to invest a ton of time, like writing a book or, developing a full-blown website. Why is Facebook not listed as a brand channel? Because Facebook died to me, honestly. Facebook pages are dead. I don't really use them. Facebook has become a pay for play. So in order for you to get the reach and visibility that you did have before, you need to pay for a boosted post, pay for an ad and all that stuff. So Facebook to me is kind of dead. I mean, I go on there and it's just pictures of people's babies and like all that type of nonsense. So I don't really consider it a channel to build your brands on. I think it's a channel for you to just manage your personal relationships. What do you think about Facebook groups? So Facebook groups, I think the same thing, right? There's now an oversaturation of Facebook groups. Now every single coach, consultant, organization has a Facebook group. So it's about being very strategic about the Facebook groups that you're in and making sure you're in the right communities. I know myself, I'm in like 15 Facebook groups and I don't even check them anymore because just like the notifications just like overwhelm me. Between like the events and like the group notifications, it gets crazy. But if you're in like one or two really, really, really good groups with the right kind of community, it can definitely be a great place to network for sure. Periscope. Girl, Tiffany, I love me some Periscope. Listen here. Periscope is the truth, the light, and the way. Especially if you want to build your expertise, Periscope is a perfect way because the same way that, I'm here sitting down answering questions like off the top of my head, which showcases that I know what I'm talking about, right? Periscope gives you that opportunity. So for you to be able to jump on and really be able to connect live via video with your audience and answer their questions and discuss a topic, it helps you to stand out as an expert and it helps you to build your brand because you can't be anything but authentic on Periscope. You can't be anything but authentic on live video because yes, you can practice, you can rehearse, but at the end of the day, what comes out is what comes out and you can't take it back, right? So the same way you can edit a blog post 500 times or, think before you tweet, on Periscope and Google Hangouts and, webinars like these, you're going to be able to showcase your personality the best and make the most genuine connections with your audience because it's live and they're able to give you that constant feedback. So I'm obsessed with Periscope. I wrote a post about it on the brandsandnews.com if you want to read. Definitely sharing a lot of tips. I'm obsessed with Periscope. How is Periscope different from Vine for your personal brand? So Periscope is, think of Periscope like basically a mobile webinar, if you will, right? It's a combination of like a webinar and Instagram. So you can, give hearts if you like what they're saying, you can comment, but you're essentially watching a live video. Vine gives you you can only record 6-second videos and it's used more so for people showcasing funny things or like things that are going on. So Vine and Snapchat are closer to me than Periscope. I think Periscope is more, like a webinar, a mobile webinar kind of platform. You can broadcast for hours if you want. I think some people have broadcasted like 3 hours or so. I don't even know what the limit is because I've never gone past an hour, but Vine is literally only six seconds that are recurring and Periscope is a live stream that can go on for a very long time. Okay, so proactive job search strategies. So one thing that frustrates me a lot when I teach my job search bootcamp is that a lot of attendees are frustrated because they aren't getting jobs, but they insist on looking for jobs in the same way they've always been taught, right? Which is find a job that you like, apply on the random company portal, and then pray to God that, a smoke signal is going to go out and the hiring manager is going to find your resume. Nobody has time for that. Right? We have to be a little bit more proactive in the way that we job search and not reactive, right? Not waiting for the job to be posted or for us to find a job on Monster or Indeed.com where, thousands of other people are looking at it as well. We have to be a little bit more proactive and make personal connections so that the jobs come to us. So the first way to do that is LinkedIn. And a lot of times people don't believe that LinkedIn is as powerful as it is, but it's amazing. I mean, literally, I should have screenshotted it, but I get emails from recruiters every week, sending me jobs that they think that I would be a good fit for, sending me jobs that might be good fits for people in my network. They're always constantly trying to connect. And the crazy thing is over 90% of recruiters are on LinkedIn, but only 36% of job seekers are on LinkedIn. Right? So a lot of people don't really find the value in LinkedIn. I know obviously you guys are because you guys are bosses. But sometimes people just think of LinkedIn kind of as the secondary resume when it's really the number one place to land a job, because it's essentially a search engine, right? You want to optimize your LinkedIn with the right keywords. So if you want to transition industries, if you want to go, for another role, you need to be populating your LinkedIn profile with the keywords that are in that particular job description, right? So for example, if I am a marketing manager, right, and I want to be a marketing director role is more strategic, right? So I'm going to craft my LinkedIn profile to resemble that, right? To highlight the projects that I've been strategic in and the results that I've gotten from those projects, and not what I did as marketing manager. Does that make sense? So I'm communicating my potential with my LinkedIn profile using the right keywords. So I'll collect, 2 to 3 job descriptions of jobs that I would want to apply for, and I would use that to inform me what keywords I need to put into my LinkedIn profile and what do I need to put into my resume. And the places you want to put these keywords in are your headline, your summary, within your job descriptions, and your media and portfolio items. So on each job description, you can add a media piece, which could be a blog post, it could be a video, it could be something that you've done, or other kinds of portfolio items that are relevant for your particular industry. But every single role that you have should have some kind of media or portfolio item, because you want to treat this like your personal website. A lot of times people come to me and they're like, I need a personal website. I need to build my brand. And it's like, you're building your brand every single day, and you can build it right on LinkedIn for free with no coding experience necessary. So consider what you have been doing on LinkedIn and the things that you've been doing to optimize your profile so that people can find you, right? Because the same way that, you're out there Googling for positions, recruiters and hiring managers are Googling for candidates, right? So they're going to be typing in those keywords. They're going to be typing in, to find marketing managers, to find, account executives or sales planners, whatever, it is. And you want to make sure that your profile comes up so that you can be reached out to for those opportunities. So instead of you waiting, to find a position on a job board, how cool would it be if a recruiter approached you? But you have to be able to be found, right? Like, they can't find you if you're not visible, if you're not searchable. So approach LinkedIn a lot differently, and you'll begin to see that you attract those opportunities. And it's also about, consistently populating your status updates. So I try to go on LinkedIn, at least once a day. I'll schedule out a post, whether it's a job searching post or something in my industry, because that also helps more people find my profile and visit my profile more often. You want to always send traffic to your profile, right? Because like I said, you want to be visible. What do you think about jobs that are posted on LinkedIn versus other venues? In most Jobster, I found job posting tends to be really old and outdated. Seems like not kept up to date. So in terms of jobs that are posted on LinkedIn, I love them because they give you the advantage of showing you who posted them, right? So instead of you waiting to put your application in the system and then, like I said, hope that somebody's going to call you back, when you find a job on LinkedIn, it usually will tell you in the top right-hand corner who posted the job. So then I will reach out to them and introduce myself, let them know that my application's in the system and that I would love to talk more so that they can put a face to the name, right? You'd be surprised how many people just send off their resume and do nothing else, right? And I talk about this a lot in my job search bootcamp. Like, I dedicate a whole 2 hours to it because it's so important to make the connections after you send off your resume, right? Like, the application is literally 10% of applying for a job. Everything else is the follow-up, making the connections with the recruiters or the hiring managers, keeping that follow-up, making sure, that your online presence continues to communicate, that you're valuable to that particular company or role. So I really, really like LinkedIn because although, yes, sometimes the job postings are outdated and things like that, you can still directly find who the person is that posted the job. So you can make that connection versus it's very anonymous on job boards. And I think so many other people, if only 36% of job seekers are on LinkedIn, like, imagine how many people are using Monster and Indeed and those other job board sites, probably way more. So I think you have an advantage applying through LinkedIn just because of all of the functionalities that the platform gives you. I hope that answered your question, Myra. Let me know. Next, so scared money don't make no money. This is a quote from the philosopher Meek Mill, who is a rapper, if y'all didn't know. He recently had beef with Drake, so I'm sure most of you guys are up to date on who he is. But he has a song, and in it he says, "Scared money don't make no money." So that I love to apply to Twitter ads, right? Because we think that, because we're job searching or because we're unemployed, we cannot possibly spend money to make that job search easier, right? But this is really when you want to invest. You want to invest in, like I said, being more visible with your social media profile. So one thing that I do when I'm job searching is I create a Twesume. So it's Twitter and resume together, TWESUME. And what a Twesume does, I sound like Tweety Bird over here. What a Twesume does is it allows you to drive more traffic to your website, your LinkedIn profile, wherever your online portfolio is being housed. So for me, it'll look something like this. I'll say, "Hello, fellow tweeter. I'm currently seeking job opportunities in XYZ industry in this city. Get to know me. Let's connect. Hope to find out more," whatever the case is. And what I'll do is I will set up Twitter ads, which cost like anywhere between 2 cents to $1.50 per click. So you only pay when someone clicks through to your site. You don't pay for the amount of people that see it, which is really good. So you only pay per interaction. And what I'll do is I will target people who are in my particular space, right? So if I know that I want to work for a startup in marketing and social media, then I'm going to target that particular audience, right? People who work at startups, people who follow technology, HR accounts, people who are in certain types of professional organizations. So that way, when this tweet comes up, they're more likely to engage with me. And if they are, looking to hire, then I might be, the candidate for them. So it's about being proactive and putting myself in front of the right people. What if you are trying to find a job without your current employer knowing? That is my greatest hesitation using social media. So this is really hard, right? Because a lot of times we got to do it on the low. I've been lucky enough that I just tell my employer, like, "I'm sick of y'all, I got to go." But yeah, I totally understand being hesitant. In terms of LinkedIn, you can set up your settings so that all of your activity on LinkedIn is private. So if you apply for a job, if you look at a particular profile, if you update your LinkedIn or anything like that, it doesn't come up. So on LinkedIn, you're pretty safe. Twitter is more obviously like an open space. If the ability of an employer seeing it is possible, pending, if they're on Twitter and they're in the audience that you're targeting. So for example, if I just came from, one of the jobs I had, I was a social media strategist for a college, right? So I know that my boss was in the higher education community. So when I was looking to transition into tech, which was a totally different industry, the likelihood of her seeing the Twesume was low because she wasn't in the audience that I was targeting to send it to. It only sent it to a very specific audience that you set, right? And I'm just like willing to take the risk because I want to get a new job as quickly as possible. So I've never really felt that concerned about an employer finding out, just because I feel as though the privacy settings and things that exist work very, very well. But I've also been very vocal around, I'm looking, I'm not happy here for XYZ reasons. So I'm going to start looking. One, because I want to give you the respect to be able to find somebody to replace me instead of just giving you a 2 weeks notice. And also because I want to be able to use you as a reference and just get that recommendation. So I've always been very, very open that I'm leaving and that I'm searching because I've wanted to keep that rapport and keep those relationships. Like my boss from my last job, she's like goes on my Periscopes and, we've done events together and things like that. And I think it's because I respected her enough to let her know, 3 months in advance that I'm looking, you guys didn't want to give me a raise. I got to go. Here's why. I would love to help you find somebody to replace me. And just kind of, working it out and being amicable instead of trying to be sneaky and then just waking up one day and be like, "Hey, I'm out, peace," But a lot of people don't have that type of, relationships with their boss or, are comfortable doing that. So definitely I would say sticking to LinkedIn is best if you're trying to be a little bit more secretive with your job search. Okay, perfect. Okay, so for those of you who are like, "I absolutely need a personal website." Like I said, a personal website does not equal a personal brand, like at all. Just because you have a personal website, it could actually be hurting your personal brand if it's not developed properly. So here are the things that you must have in your personal website in order for it to be effective for your job search. You have to have an about page, and you would be surprised how many profiles I see and how many, portfolio sites I see that don't have a summary, don't have an about you section. And you need to have that about you section for two reasons. One, for the search engine optimization benefit, right? Because when you write about yourself, and usually I'll write about myself in third person so that people can, find Emily Dela Cruz when they Google me. You are able to, one, be found on the internet, and two, you are also able to connect the dots for people in a way that your resume and your profile can't, right? So if I want to transition from a job that I've only had for 6 months, let's say, to another role in another industry, I use my about me section to talk about what I've learned, what transferable skills I have, why I'm looking for a new role, or what I'm looking for in a new role, and really using it to kind of toot my own horn in a way that you can't do on a resume because you have limited space, right? Like yesterday, I was just cutting down my resume from 2 pages just because I think that a 1-page resume is the best job search tool there is. Like if you can tell me in 1 page what makes you valuable, then I don't know, what to tell you, because recruiters and hiring managers don't have the time to sit there and pour over your 5-page resume. My mom's a social worker and she had a 7-page resume. I'm like, no, we need to get this together, girl. Like, who has the time? They don't got the time. They're looking at your resume for a couple of seconds, or, an online platform is scouring your resume for the right keywords. So the fact that you have a 5-page resume without the proper keywords is not going to help you, right? You can be in a way better position if you have a 1-page resume that's search engine optimized, that has the right keywords, and that's accomplishment based. What's the smallest font you would use on that 1 page? I have like 11-point font, and I have the headings at 12-point font. I've gone down to as small as 10, but it really, really depends. I just like to print it out. And if it's hard for me to read, it's going to be hard for somebody else to read. So I just print it out. The smallest I've gone is 10, but I try to keep it like at 11, 12. Do you offer resume building services? I don't offer resume building services, but I do teach a whole section, a whole module on resumes and cover letters in my job search bootcamp, which actually is starting in 2 days. So if you want to check that out, it's personalbrandingclass.com. And I'll talk about that a little bit later. So your about page, get it right, get it tight, y'all. Please get it together, because you'll be surprised how much your about page will speak more about you than anything else will, right? Like if you don't hook them with that about page, which is usually the first page a lot of people visit on a website, they're not going to trickle into all the other places, right? They're probably not going to download your resume. They might not be interested in looking at your portfolio page. So you need to think about your about page as like the appetizer for your brand, right? Like you need to hook them. It needs to be good. Because if you go to a restaurant and the appetizer is whack, you're probably not excited for the entree, because you're just like, this is nasty, aka the chef does not know what he's doing, aka the rest of the food is going to be trash. So you want to treat your about page like the appetizer, make it scrumptious and delicious so that people are excited to consume the rest of your brand. Yes? Okay. Next thing is your blog component. So like I said, you want to be creating content. This does not mean you need to blog 10 times a week. This does not mean you need to blog once a week. You could blog once a month if you wanted to. But what this is about is being able to communicate your expertise, right? So I can say that I'm a digital marketing manager, right, in New York City, but how am I showing that? A lot of times we're telling people what we do, but we're not showing what we do. So your blog and creating content like blog posts or even videos like Periscopes and things like that is a way for you to show the knowledge that you know, right? So using what you know. This can be, for me, for example, I may do a blog post around the top 10 tools every social media manager needs, right? Or, how I create a content strategy, or, how I use my content marketing to drive more leads via email. And I might give specific examples, case studies of things that I've done at work, or, something that I've done with a client or things like that. But it's about showing the things that you know. And in order for you to show me what you know, you have to be able to explain it. You have to be able to teach other people, right? So think about your blog as a way for you to teach someone, whether that's like, a mentee or someone who's just one level below you, right? Like if I was applying for a job, what would be the things that I wanted to know then, right? Same thing, like if I'm applying to be a marketing director, then I'm going to be writing blog post content that, you know, I want to know and I want to showcase that I know for the hiring managers. So I'll give you a perfect example. If I want to talk about strategy, then I'm going to be talking less about how I implement a strategy and more about how I develop a strategy if I want to move into a more strategic role. Yes? Okay, just checking the chat, making sure I'm not missing anything. I know Emily is manning it for me as well. It is a must that I should have this social media feature. A lot of people aren't great with Twitter because they don't get it. They don't understand like how to make connections or why it's valuable. But later on, I'll show you why you should just at least have an account. Even if it's not the #1 social media tool that you use, you should at least have an account so that you don't miss out on opportunities. But we'll talk about that in just a second. So your portfolio page, same thing. Give me the portfolio pieces that are relevant for your next job, right? Like it's real cute that you did XYZ in your last 10 roles. But if that's not going to show me how you're going to be valuable in the next role, then it's pointless, right? So for example, I have been doing like social media, community management, digital marketing for a while, but I want to move up more in the traditional marketing space. So I'm not going to have as many portfolio pieces highlighting social media as I am going to have portfolio pieces highlighting, like I said, strategies that I've created, lead generation, marketing funnels, because those are the skills that I need to showcase for my next role. So think about what portfolio pieces are going to speak to the role that I want and are going to showcase the skill sets that the hiring manager or the recruiter is looking for. Okay. And you don't need to have 5 million portfolio pieces either. You can have 3, right? Just pick the 3 best things that you've worked on and use that. That can be a plan. That can be, a campaign that you worked on. It can be a case study, whatever it is. But you want to have that showcased. Your resume. A lot of people don't like to have their resume readily available, but what I found is that a lot of the times recruiters are going to ask you for it anyway, so just make it easy by having it up there for them. And just make sure you remove, like your address and your phone number, make it a little bit more generic, so that way you don't have stalkers knocking on your door, calling you up your phone, because people are creepy out here and you do not want to get caught up. So if you are going to post your resume online, as a PDF or for them to download, just make sure obviously that you take off those locations and phone numbers and that type of contact information. And then a contacts page. A lot of people forget a contacts page. Put your email. Let me know how I can find you. Put your Twitter. If I have to spend a ton of time trying to figure out how to get in touch with you, I'm going to move on to the next candidate. So you want to think about what are the top 3 easiest ways for people to contact me and list that on your contacts page. It does not need to have like, a super long paragraph about welcome to my website. Please contact me. I respond to emails. Like it can literally just be a page and just have listed out your email, your Twitter and your LinkedIn profile, whatever 3 ways you feel are the best way to contact you, but make it easy for recruiters to share opportunities with you, right? Like they should not be floating all over the internet trying to get in touch with you about a position because they probably won't. So here are some more examples of content creation. Again, these can be used, as portfolio pieces. They can be used as blog posts. You can do, Periscope videos. You can break them down into tweets. So you can do a case study of a client that you've had or work that you've done. You can talk about recent events. So for example, me working in social media and digital marketing, I might talk about, how the recent Periscope summit or the launch of Periscope is impacting marketing. Or I may talk about, how Facebook's new addition of the emojis for instead of likes is impacting, engagement on social media channels. So you want to use recent events to showcase, 1, that you're up on the industry, that you're aware of what's going on, and 2, again, that you have a perspective and that you're forward thinking and that you're able to connect all of the dots, right? Same thing, industry news and trends. So is there a particular event that's coming up? Is there something, in your industry that's happening that you're seeing is gaining a lot of traction that you may be able to apply? What's kind of going on in your industry? Sharing how-to and advice. So showing someone how to do something or how you've done something is always a great way. A quick and easy is an interview or a Q&A. So interviewing somebody in your space, sending them some questions via email is a simple, super duper easy way to get a blog post up, and it's also a great way for you to drive more traffic to your sites. And then lists. So, like I said, the top 6 tools to do this, the top 3 tools to do that, the top 4 ways to do whatever. People love lists. They love getting content in a very digestible format. So if you share, the top this or the best that, is always a really easy way to create content, because you're basically just curating a bunch of different things for one post. Okay, so reactive job search strategies. So we just talked about how to get people to find you so that you can build relationships and, eventually land the job. Now we're going to talk about more of the reactive, right? Do I need to ask permission to give my boss a heads up, or otherwise show courtesy there? Yes, absolutely, Elizabeth. I always ask if I'm going to put up work product, just because one, you want to make sure there's not any proprietary information or anything like that you're sharing that might get you in trouble legally. But also, I would frame it, obviously, if you want to be a little bit more secretive about your job search, I would just say, hey, I'm trying to build my personal brand, and I would love it if I could showcase my expertise and just build my exposure by being able to share some of my projects. Do you mind? A lot of people are building their brands. A lot of people are trying to become thought leaders and experts for their company. So for example, for my company, I go to a lot of conferences and speak on their behalf. I do a lot of webinars. So kind of positioning yourself as, you're trying to gain exposure that will eventually benefit the company is a good way to go about it. And I'm happy to chat with that more specifically offline. So the reactive job search strategy. So after you apply for a job, you need to go to this lovely page right here, which is the LinkedIn Advanced Search. I know most of you guys, I hope most of you guys are familiar with this. So there are 3 people that I search for in the LinkedIn Advanced Search after I apply for a job. The first person I look for is obviously the hiring manager. Who is the person who is probably going to be my boss, is probably going to make some sort of hiring decision around this position. They're the person I want to connect with and reach out to, like I said, introduce myself and put a face to the random application. The next person, if I can't find that person, or if it's not very, very clear, I'll look to see, who are the HR people? Are there any particular recruiters in that company that I can connect with that, again, can help move me along? And then the next person is, so I went to Syracuse University. Our alumni network is ridiculous. I mean, we're everywhere. At every single company, I feel like there's a SU alum. So if I can't find any of those 2 direct contacts, I'll look for an alumni from Syracuse who may work at that company. So I'll just use company, put in the company's name, make sure that it's set to current, and then I'll use the school. I'll put Syracuse University. So anyone that's currently a Syracuse alumni that's working at that company will come up. And again, I'll just reach out to them, let them know that I've applied for a position, if they can offer, any advice, any, company values that I should be mindful of, any tips that they may have if I do get reached out to for an interview. And then depending, on the relationship that we build, maybe at the end of the call, I'll ask them to pass my resume along, but I definitely always play by ear. If there isn't anyone currently there, then I'll look to see if there's anybody in the past, anyone who has worked there before, who may have moved on to other places but may still have connections. But at the end of the day, I'm always trying to get an in, right? I'm always trying to get into the VIP section, right? I do not want to be in the regular area of the job market and the job applications. I'm trying to be special and make that personal connection so someone can get me in the door. Because a lot of times jobs are posted, but people are more interested in getting, referrals from their teammates or, company members or people in their network than they are about interviewing randos, because it's just a lot more work. So you want to be mindful of how can I, get recommended? How can I get referred, right? Who can I talk to that can make that connection on my behalf? And LinkedIn Advanced Job Search is the way to do it. I mean, it's amazing. You can search by everything. You can search by location, company. I mean, I will stalk anybody, okay? I have stalked boyfriends on LinkedIn. I stalk friends. I've stalked, everybody. You can literally, the FBI probably owns LinkedIn because you can find so much information on here. Okay, the next thing is Warble alerts. So Warble alerts are basically Google alerts for Twitter. So I'm so sorry I forgot your name, but whoever asked about, having a Twitter profile, even if you don't actively post, you still want to have Twitter so that you can connect Warble alerts, because 54% of jobs are posted on Twitter as of 2013. So that number may have probably gone up by now, but at least 50% of jobs that are being posted out there are being consistently advertised on Twitter, and you don't want to miss them, right? So the way to set up your Warble alerts are with those keywords. So do you want to work in, social media? Are you trying to work in tech? Are you trying to work in startup? What kinds of positions are you looking for? And use those keywords to find the right Warble alerts. So for me, like I said, if I'm looking for kind of a social media manager role, my keywords would be hiring, social media manager. And every single day, you'll get an email digest of all the tweets that went out that have your particular keywords. And this is great because, one, the jobs come to you, so you don't have to, consistently always be on the job boards and maybe miss something because your perfect dream job is on page 17 and you only got to page 5 because you were tired, right? So thinking about how can I continue to bring these things into me instead of me having to go out and look for them is great. Yes, they're free. They're free. Yes, everything I'm talking about is free. Okay, we pour out here. We can't be wasting money. Okay, and then just some other general resources. So Warble alerts, Google alerts, for sure. Then WordPress. So if you are thinking about getting a personal website or anything like that, you can use WordPress or About.me. About.me is just a landing page where you can connect all of your social media profiles, but it's a way where you can have one centralized location for your online presence. So you can link to maybe your social media profiles, any other kinds of portfolio that you may have and things like that. You can link to blog posts that you've written, so don't always feel like you have to blog for yourself. You can blog for, other websites on the web. And what was the other thing? Medium is another great tool. It's another blogging platform, article kind of like publishing platform. It's great. These are all free things that you can do to start creating content. So that way you can use that not only as a digital portfolio pieces, but like I said, ways for you to build your brand, right? You need to always showcase how you're an expert in your space in order for people to take you seriously and for you to be attractive to recruiters, right? Because there are so many millions of, people who graduate from college every year, so many thousands of people who are looking for a job search at who are doing a job search at any particular time. So for you, what's going to help you stand out is your personal brand, because a lot of people don't have one, right? A lot of people think that they have a personal brand, but they really don't, right? So like I said, having a personal website that's not optimized or created properly is not really aiding in building your personal brand. Not using your social media properly, is not aiding your personal brand. So I love to spend a lot of time, basically beating this into people's skull, because, your brand is being built whether you manage it or not. I'll say that one more time. Your brand is being built whether you monitor it or not. So if you think that you're consistently building your brand, but you're not, creating new content, doing Twitter chats to connect with new people, constantly using social media to make those connections with recruiters and hiring managers, then your brand is being built for you, but you don't have any control over what that messaging is, and the messaging might not be what you want, right? So I just want to say, oh, thank you, Natalia. I appreciate it. Thank you. So just keep those things in mind. The next thing, obviously, is my website, The Branding Muse. So I will share, let me see if I can share it real quick. Okay, here it is. Here's a post that I wrote. I just put it in the chat on the LinkedIn profile tips that breaks it down a little bit more, because obviously we had to cut, we're coming to close. So I had to be really quick and touch on lots of different things. But you can definitely check out my website. I go in depth into a lot of other things. You can find, recruiter contact templates on there. I have a whole 45-minute video specifically on getting your LinkedIn profile together. So definitely check out the Branding Muse, because there's lots of great resources. CommandsCon is an event that I did in June that we're doing again in October in Texas. But it's all about building your executive presence. So you can check out that hashtag on Twitter and see kind of, what the topics were around building your executive presence in your appearance, your charisma, and your speech. So are you like presenting at conferences, or, are you a good public speaker, that type of stuff. So thinking about not only what your online personal brand is saying, but what your offline personal brand is saying, because that is going to be just as important as what you're doing on social media. Social media is the introduction, but your offline presence is really how you close the deals. So you want to be mindful of all those different things. Okay? So I hope that was helpful.
Amazing. I just want to chime by saying thank you so much. I feel like we all just had our hair blown back by all that information. And what I can attest to for those who are on the call is that Emily, this is just the tip of the iceberg for her expertise. For sure. I know that you could talk about this for forever. So I know Emily's upcoming job search boot camp, which is, can you tell us a little bit more about that? Because I want to make sure people know if this is the right thing for them.
Yes, for sure. So the Job Search Bootcamp is specifically focused on building your personal brand so that you can get a job, right? So we go over, not only your online presence, so figuring out what exactly is your personal brand, what niche, are you going to thrive in, how to communicate your personal brand with content and things like that. But then we also dive into your job search materials, right? Nice. Because a lot of times I see resumes looking crazy, girl. I mean, nuts. And it's not because, people don't care. It's because college taught us all of the wrong things, right? College taught us college taught us that we need a job. It didn't teach us how to get a job. And it certainly didn't teach us how to do the damn job, because a lot of times we're just learning as we go, right? So, we have these resume templates that we get from like the Career Center, and these resume templates that we get from like the internet, and they're all literally just a list. Like this is a laundry list of the 10 things that I did in my role, and that's not really what people are looking for. So we dive into, the resume and the cover letter, networking email templates where you reach out to recruiters. So basically an A to Z 3-week boot camp on everything that you need to be doing to do the job search properly in 2015, not 1998.
Amazing. I love it. And as you can tell, I'm fangirling over here about you, Emily. So I'm sure this will not be the end of our collaboration because there's so much that we can do together. Yes. One other thing I just want to mention for those on the call, Bossed Up is all about helping women navigate career transition and specifically overcome burnout, which we know is so common and can be a real barrier to achieving that sustainable career that we want. One thing to just keep in mind here is that you were just given a ton of tools, but does not mean you have to implement them all right away, right? So don't let guilt hit you. Don't let the, comparison game come in now and feel like, oh, my social media is so crappy compared to my peers or whatever. One step at a time. You're on your own journey. We're all there with you. We're cheering each other on. We're lifting as we climb. Yes. And just know that these are tools that you can use and come back to when you have more time, or schedule in as part of your Fierce Fall challenge. So whatever it may be, you're going to get a recording of this call. Just know, if you're hyperventilating right now, because that was so much incredible. No, because now that's your job, right? Emily's the total boss here. That's her job, is to give us all the tools she possibly could in less than an hour, and she did a phenomenal job. I'm just here to remind you to not go crazy and to know that wherever you are in this process, one thing at a time will get you forward.
Definitely. And if you need to pick one thing, definitely start with LinkedIn, because it's just the easiest way. I mean, LinkedIn, like I said, houses everything. You can, as long as you have your profile together, then you can start blogging on there, then you can get your portfolio pieces. So LinkedIn is definitely the best place to start to get those baby steps going. And then you can think about resumes and Wordable alerts and all this other stuff. But definitely focus more so on LinkedIn, which is just an easy way to start.
That's really good. And I love what you also said. I just want to verbally underline what you said about having a baseline presence. So even if you don't want to tweet all the time, getting your act together on Twitter makes you show up more, right? It helps your search engine optimization. I am a strong believer in having a baseline presence and then picking one or two to focus on. And I'm considering ditching Facebook after this conversation.
Girl, listen, man, I hate Facebook. Seriously, if I could get Mark Zuckerberg and smack him upside the head, I would, because it's we don't all have money to be paying for ads and boosting posts and like doing all this stuff. And then, ever since my mom and my grandma got on there, I knew it was time for me to go.
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you. Cool. So bosses, if you have any other questions, go ahead and type them into the chat bar right now, because we have just a couple of minutes left. But Emily, can you tell us what is like the most common challenge that you see when people come to Job Search Bootcamp, or when people are trying to leverage social media in particular for the job search? What is the biggest mistake you see over and over again?
Oh, yes. So the biggest mistake I see is people don't communicate their credibility. And that meaning that, like I said, they're not using their resumes, their cover letters, all of these different pieces of materials that talk about them to really use that to showcase why they're valuable. So like I said, they don't talk about, they won't highlight their accomplishments. They won't highlight the results that they've gotten for the team. They don't want to own their greatness. They're really uncomfortable with self-promotion. They feel like, I don't want to brag. Like, I don't want to tweet about this. But really, if you don't talk about it, no one is going to know, right? Like if you don't let your light shine, nobody's going to know that you have a light in the first place. So usually the biggest hurdle is getting them over that fear of being self-promotional and saying like, I'm a boss. These are 5 reasons why I'm going to kill it. And this is 5 more reasons why you need to give me a $10,000 raise because I don't have time.
Yeah, I feel like that's exactly what we see at Bossed Up Bootcamp too, because women come to bootcamp because you are feeling stuck and you need that confidence boost. Yeah. And here's the reality. I love programs like yours that are communal, that bring women together or people together. But we women in particular have a hard time with self-promotion because people think that we're being braggy when we do the same stuff that a guy can do and sound totally legit. So there's injustice underlying all of that conversation. And so, and also for those of us who are survivors of a toxic work environment or a boss who belittled you, or even like in your personal life, a really uncomfortable or really unhealthy relationship, those things can chip away at your confidence in every part of your life. So giving yourself permission to be a boss, giving yourself permission to get over the imposter syndrome and own it. Like you said, I was just looking on your Instagram, your new business cards. What do they say about own your something?
Oh, own what you know.
Own
so
what
that
you know.
You have an expertise, whether you can, write the best memo at your company.
Right.
Like, you're the best memo writer in the world. Like people need to know that,
Yeah, totally.
Don't belittle kind of like the things that you know. And I love that you mentioned that about your program, combining like love and things like that. Because what I found was when I was in a job I hated, I was in a very toxic relationship. And when I learned how to use my voice, both in the workplace and at home, my whole life changed, and a lot of times we don't connect all the dots. And, we negotiate every day. We negotiate in our relationships. We negotiate in the office. We negotiate at the supermarket when we're trying to get the teller to take our 50 coupons if you're a couponer. So, kind of like seeing all those connections.
Yeah, that's what Bossed Up's all about. So we've got a really good question here. I think we have time for this one question. LinkedIn Premium. And actually, just to answer, Jay, your question earlier, you did say that you should have the same profile picture across mediums so it's easier for people to recognize you, right? Okay.
Yes,
cool.
yes. And the right profile picture. Like, it's not a picture of you out at brunch and you cropped your friend out.
Right.
Like, y'all know.
Well, luckily, we actually have a webinar coming up next week also with a professional photographer who's a total boss, who's shot a lot of our headshots from bootcamp, who's talking all about how the right headshot can be.
Thank God. Yes, because
keep an eye out. We haven't actually posted the sign up for that until tonight, but keep an eye out. So I've heard you talk about LinkedIn Premium before, and I'm pretty sure you're going to give it the thumbs down. Can you just tell us a little bit why?
Yeah. So I think that LinkedIn Premium gives you a lot of nice to haves, right? So with LinkedIn Premium, you can see, for example, if you're applying for a job on LinkedIn, you can see like the salary range, or, you can send in mail, for example. But for me, I feel like if you are a professional stalker like I am, you can get by with it for free, right? So I'll give you an example. If you wanted to send somebody in mail, right, because they're not in your network and you can't connect with them, what I'll do is I'll just take their name, and I'll go on the company website, and usually if they have like a press page or, some kind of contact page, I can figure out what the email structure for the company is, and I can send them an email. So it's usually first name dot last name, first initial last name, first name, or it might be last name first initial, right? Like there's only so many combinations of emails that can exist. So I just real cute, go right into my BCC and write them all out.
Yeah.
One of them is going to hit. But, you know, if you can afford it, if you want to avoid spending the time doing that kind of extensive research, I mean, it might take you anywhere from like 20 to 30 minutes on a bad day. Like if the company makes it really hard for you to find contact information, then I definitely would recommend, you know, investing in LinkedIn Premium, right? Because it's a premium service. It's for you're paying for the comfort, you're paying for the ease of it, not necessarily the functionality. So if you don't want to do all that extra research, like on Glassdoor to find out the salary, or, you know, sending in mail and things like that, then you can invest in it. But I definitely totally think you can get by without it for sure.
Fantastic. Well, that's all the time we have today. We like to keep webinars, our Fierce Fall series, short and sweet and to the point, which I know you are so great at. So Emily, thank you again. I'm giving you a round of applause for everyone on the line.
Thank you.
Snapping and clapping from their desk. So everyone,
thank you so much, guys.
You're gonna get on our list now too. So when you signed up for this webinar, you gave Emily and Bossed Up permission. So we'll continue keeping in touch that way. You'll hear from us right away. I'm gonna write a quick summarizing post with your 3 top tips.
Exciting.
So you'll be seeing that soon. And I just want to thank you again, Emily. We have to get together, girl. We got to talk.
Yes. I feel like we're just all having cocktails right now in the office.
I know.
Emily's
synergy here is pretty fantastic, would you say? So.
I think so.
Keep up the amazing work. Everyone out there, keep being the boss of your life, and we will be right there supporting you every step of the way.
Yes. Right. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Emily. Take care.
Adios.
Bye.